Okay, this is the opening to the museum. This is the Commission on Human Rights. They brought in this huge project of a museum because the information is so vital to the people who live here, not only in our community, but to the veterans and everybody who has to take medication, supposedly because of what has happened to them in their lives. The soldiers, when they are deployed and they come back and they suffer trauma, so they figure that the best way to treat the trauma is to drug them. And that is not the best way. We should have activities for our veterans. We should have a system that is really going to take care of them. And like the one young man said, the conversations where they can talk about what has happened to them, not only to each other, but even to the community. That's the best therapy, not the drugs. And for our children, we have little babies on Ritalin. We have little children that are being given these psychotropic drugs that is not making them better. It's not curing them. It tones them down where they're very sluggish and that kind of stuff, but it's not a cure. So we hope that by educating our community with this museum, Commission on Human Rights, that people can make better decisions, and even our health department can probably start operating in a way that people can get better results than from these psychotropic drugs.
Cool. Okay, so we got some exhibits ahead. Want to show me any of them?
Sure. This is the introductory exhibit.
Oh, let me get this little disclaimer here. Okay. What you got?
This is an introductory exhibit right here. To introduce you to the Commission on Human Rights and their belief that our society can be healed through more communication, understanding, projects that enable people to be treated with human kindness rather than with the psychotropic drugs. So, that's the first thing. These are some of the pictures of various people here. Still various pictures that if you want this screen turned on, which probably would be better.
That's fine. I just wanted to hear what you had to say about these exhibits.
Oh, well, I haven't seen them all, but this is another exhibit that I guess I'll have to have it on.
Okay. Well, what about this next? Do you have anything to say about this one, oppressing blacks and minorities?
Oppressing what?
This backdrop.
What does it say? Oppressing what?
Oppressing blacks and minorities.
Oh, definitely. And what the Commission on Human Rights is, they're looking at how the African American race and minority, even Hispanics or Mexicans, have been treated in the system because of the lack of knowledge that they may have, the lack of knowledge of their parents and living in poor communities, and so they're not being treated like human beings. It's more like experimentation and give them all these different drugs that they don't even know what the side effects are. They don't know how it's going to affect not only their body, but their minds. The suicides, the violent behaviors. Most of these violent behaviors are caused by drugging the minority races, especially African Americans and the other minorities that are being given these drugs supposedly to treat them, but it's not a cure. And these drugs take off 20 years. For a person that's constantly in the system, it takes out 20 years of their life. And some of them are taking from 7 different kinds of drugs and more, up to maybe 15 different kinds a day. And it's not a cure. And they claim that that's the best way to treat them. They claim it's the best way to treat them because they may be violent or they may be slow, but actually it causes the mind to work in a way that wants them to be violent, wants them to hurt themselves and commit suicide. Just like our soldiers, it's the same thing. And all the veterans that are mostly on the streets, they're being given, anytime they go in and they become addicted to this stuff and they ask for it, they will give it to them. And then if they're violent, you know what's going to happen. Either they're going to be arrested or some other worse thing will happen to them. And this is a very important exhibit here. I hope everybody takes a look at it.
Psychiatry's most important social characteristic is the use of force and fraud. That's the quote here. That's from Thomas Sass. He is a professor of psychiatry emeritus, co-founder of the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, which is bringing this exhibit to you here today. Moving on. Yes.
And I'm the director of Florida Department of Justice.
Yes, we are co-sponsoring this. So, controlling man as an animal. Once you redefine man as an animal, then that gives them permission to kill, because you can kill animals more than you can. You take murder and you can euphemize it.
Right.
So that's what this panel goes into, and a lot of more information here if you come down and see the exhibit. What is really behind the Holocaust? What is really behind eugenics? It's the idea of eliminating the unfit. Who is unfit? You're looking down through here. Is anything undesirable? That would be Jewish people. That would be black people. That would be minorities. This is their definition of here. That was introduced in Germany. By 1932, the Sykes were totally happy to support somebody who could carry out their plan, and that was Hitler. Killable.
I love that.
Well, I'm just going through the panels here for you.
Right.
Okay, and this is one of my favorite things, because what this does is it exposes, yes, there has been racial tensions throughout the centuries, throughout whenever, but what happens is you have to have somebody actively keeping it going. People don't naturally hate other races. They don't.
Yeah,
They just don't. We're just people.
human beings.
So you have an artificial separation of humankind by color. And that's been with us for a very long time, but it's psychiatry that's keeping inflaming the fuels and making it worse, and putting false information saying they're inferior. We need to get rid of them. And that's where you got the eugenics and the superior race in Nazi Germany, the panel before. Moving on. You know, politics is not a favorite topic with very many people.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's
So by
not.
certifying people who are undesirable for the state, you make them certified as insane. It was possible to isolate them into psychiatric hospitals without court actions or without public internal or international upset. So nobody gets upset, they don't know about it. It's just quietly somebody fingering that guy's nuts, he's taken out. The Gulag Archipelago. I have many, many examples throughout history of that. There was one in 1950 in America. It was called Siberian, Alaska. It was built to take a million acres, a million miles of huge property in Alaska and make it into a psychiatric institution. So those people who were complaining about or criticizing any government or anything in politics,
Throw them away.
that would be, that takes care of the opposition. One man defeated that back in 1950, and that was Mr. Elwood Hubbard. It
Wow.
passed the Senate, and he stopped it. He's my hero.
Did not know that.
Psychosurgery, shock treatment, this is like the worst.
And they're doing it
I
right
don't
now.
need to say anything, it's bad, you know. Next. I mean, you know.
Watch the video, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, the gory details, they're horrible. But if you don't know that they're there, if you don't know the history, you're doomed to repeat it. So that's why that's important to be there.
And if you get the information and a lot of other people don't have it, they say you're crazy.
Hooking the world on drugs for profit. This is not a new idea. They've been doing it for gazillions of years. But, let's see the best one here. Oh yeah. Remember Thorazine? Have you ever heard about that?
I've heard of it.
Thorazine babies. I remember when I was growing up, I'm a little bit older, but Thorazine babies, they were born like without hands, feet. It was just horrible. This, manufactured in France, was the first in a long series of psychotropic, which is mood-altering drugs. Psychiatric drugs, mood-altering, psychotropic, any of those. Don't let anybody you love or yourself near them.
That's right.
It just kills you.
That's right.
Makes you into biochemical personality, not there, gone. Zombie.
Yeah, that's it.
The easier to control you, my dear.
And we
You
got
got
the
it.
zombies. We got the people walking around now. They're coming.
Check out the stat. $11 billion industry.
Billion. 11 billion.
I think it's more now. This needs to be updated.
That's our public, that's not the private sector.
Look at this, more than 6,000% increase in funding for a mere 10 times increase in the number of patients. Government funding of the psych drugs, teen screening in schools.
Yes.
Do you know they have mint-flavored Prozac for 2-month-old babies? Now tell me how can you interview a baby at 2 months old who can't even talk?
Depressed?
Exactly. It's just, I mean, you know, I'm just stopping when I go into the teen person.
No, you're good.
Thank you. This is one of our 8 DVDs. As you can see, there's 2 different ones in each one. They're about 7 or 8 minutes long that really graphically show, graphically shows and gives the timeline on it, and a very professionally produced show. I'm sure you're really going to enjoy it. And this is all about psychiatry. I mean, it doesn't change. Asylums.
We're trying to
Therapeutic
change
asylums.
it.
Okay, it says it all right here. Barbaric and inhumane conditions. If you're incarcerated in a mental hospital, you're in prison. You are not treated or cured. Again, Dr. Thomas Sass, that's how you say his name, Sass, Professor Emeritus of Psychiatry, who is the whistleblower and co-founded Citizens Commission on Human Rights, who is bringing you this exhibit today with the Justice.
Fort Ord Environmental Justice Network.
Fort Ord Environmental Justice Network has invited us here, and we are so glad for that.
Glad to have you.
On to the next. See, I can walk right through this real quick. And if you want, we can do it again. If you...
Okay.
Okay. This panel is extremely interesting. And I have a story to go with this too. Destroying creativity. All of these famous actors, remember Vivian Leigh, Gone with the Wind, Frances Farmer, and other famous actors back in the day, Billie Holiday, Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys, on and on and on. Judy Garland, Marilyn Monroe. Charlie the Bird, remember the bird, Charlie Parker? Famous. All these guys, all famous guys. What is it, the lead singer of Stevie Nicks, the...
Oh, yeah, Stevie Nicks,
Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac, yeah.
Yeah, these are all famous people. What happened to them? Something happened, they had a stressful tour, they got physically tired, whatever. They saw a psych. It's all common denominator. They saw a psych, they put them on drugs, that's it, they're dead.
And these are the famous people. And the people in our communities, we can't even.
They're targeted.
Pick their pictures.
Hollywood is targeted by the psychiatrists. Why? Because when they kill the creativity, anybody who stands out, who doesn't become one of the little drones that dutifully takes their drugs that cost money, that makes the money, little slave society there, when you stand out, you're targeted by the psychs. That's the whole thing about that screening of teens and all kinds of, it's if you stand out, if you're an individual, that means if you can think, you're a spiritual being, you're targeted.
That's right.
And these guys were all bright.
Yes.
They stood out. So they had to bring them down to size, kill them. It's sick. Just sick. Here's the juicy side. This is the stuff that would sell in our magazines and newspapers today. Psychiatric crime and fraud. Most of them are criminal. Why? Because they actually, most of these guys, the ones we're bringing to trial, we're bringing them to justice, one by one by one. Sometimes whole institutions at a time. Their favorite thing is like they will have, they'll rape their patients, they prey on children sexually and otherwise. They're famous for that. This is a very criminal organization. That's what they do. That's it. They're creeps. Criminality. This is a good one. When you look at this particular one here, they invent mental illness, which does not exist. They invent diseases for which they can then sell drugs or their services or treatments. It's a money-making business to make something out of nothing. The biggest scam there ever was. At least in prostitution you get a service for what you pay for. This, they don't even do that.
Right? Not fair. There's always retail.
Dollars.
Yes, here we go. Inventing disorders to sell drugs. This is kind of continues on. There's a flow to this exhibit. Pseudoscience. Here's where you see 1994, 2004 went from $9 billion to $34 billion in money. Yeah. Now, how do they classify these things? We actually have a copy of like the original manual, Diagnostic Statistical Manual, the DSM. You have one too. It's a little tiny book. It's really thin, about a half-inch thick. That's the original book. It's been through a couple of revisions. It is now really big, bigger than a family Bible. All that is a group of people sit at a table, call themselves psychiatrists. They say, well, we have this drug, and let's vote on what it will be for. How about you vote for this? They show of hands. Literally, they don't even speak. They show of hands. They vote on what to put in the book. So when they put the book in with a number beside it, that's a code that the insurance companies will pay for so they make the money. I'm oversimplifying, but that's what they do. Moving on. The titles of these say it all: betraying and drugging children. Psychiatry destroying our future generation. Period. That says it all. There is no valid test for ADHD. The guy who invented it, who was it you was telling me recently, and I think I heard his deathbed confession, he made it up. The guy who said it. There's no data proving it. There is a brain dysfunction, and if the drugs prescribed for it do not improve academic performance or social skills, they can lead to illicit drug use, illegal drugs. And there's millions of children on these now.
Right, and what is
There's
it?
another thing that they do so that parents can let their children be drugged. They will give them money for them being dysfunctional. And then the parents are addicted to letting their children be drugged because they can get paid for their children being drugged.
$2,500 a child
Yes.
per month.
Yes.
Schools get paid for it more too.
Yeah.
The more on drug, they're reward. You get what you put your attention on. So if you reward putting children on drugs by paying the parents or paying the foster parents or paying the schools, then they're going to put more kids on drugs.
Yes.
Bottom line. Bottom line.
Makes a lot of sense. And so what is that Ritalin though, basically?
Ritalin is one of them.
Is basically meth or something?
Ritalin is, it's in the same category as, I think it's substance 2 abuse, which is in the same category as cocaine.
Give it to kids as young as 3 years old.
20 million children worldwide are taking prescribed cocaine-like stimulants. Suicide, and I'm not saying this, I'm not making this up. Suicide-inducing antidepressants or antipsychotic drugs that cause diabetes and, you're right, it says death, right there, death.
And so that's
1 in 10 teens in the U.S. is now abuse stimulant drugs.
And the reason why we have more disease now, they call everything a disease now, is because of the fact that this uncontrolled drugging or medication, whatever they call it, is inducing, causing these reactions in people's body. And nobody is the same. And you cannot give people the same amount of what they call medication to treat what they call a disease. You can't do that. Each race is different. Each race of people is different. The skin is thicker or thinner, the blood, all of that. And so that's what we've been talking about in this county. And we're hoping that the policy, if enough people stand up and get educated and find out what's really going on in their community and to their family members, that they will stand up and say, no, enough is enough, and we need to change what is happening. If you don't do it, it's going to keep right on happening.
That's right. You know what the definition of malpractice is? It's not what you think it is. Do you know what it is? Okay, malpractice. I had a doctor describe this to me. It means something that has not been done before. So, for example, you come up with like vitamin C, and it cures scurvy, which we've known about for centuries, right?
That's malpractice.
It's a great example. If that had happened today and somebody says, hey, let's get rid of scurvy with vitamin C. No, we can't do that. It's not been done before. It's malpractice, and you get sued.
Yeah.
So there's better and best practices, and if a doctor does not follow those guidelines that have been published, then that's considered malpractice.
If you go out of step with the American Medical Association or the American Psychiatric Association, heaven help you, you lose your license and you can't really help patients. Doctors of yesteryear would look at the whole patient, they would treat the whole patient, they would figure out what's going on, not one guy treats one hand and the other guy treats one toe. It's funny.
That's why disease is so much worse than it was years ago when we didn't have all this modern medicine. Now it's everybody. It's in everybody's families.
Look at this stat.
It's everywhere.
20 million children, mind-altering drugs. They're on it.
Whether they want to or not, because they're under 18, they got no choice.
The school system says that these kids, if they're hyper means, you know, kids are kids. If they say they're hyper, they've diagnosed them as hyper, the parents have to let the kids be medicated or else they will put the kids into foster homes.
Seems a little extortionary or something. Hold your kid ransom.
If you're in first grade, you'd call that bullying.
Yeah.
And as adults, you would call it by force.
Yeah.
Right? The
And as
law?
an American, you'd say it's un-American.
Yeah.
But yet it's happening.
It's happening.
I have a favorite term I like to call these merchants of chaos. the architects of social chaos. Patients are nothing but riffraff. This is Sigmund Freud. This is like the granddaddy, right? He says patients are nothing but riffraff. Okay, that's a great attitude to take towards his patients. Real good bedside manner. The only useful purposes they serve are to help us earn a living and to provide learning material. In any case, we cannot help them. Sigmund Freud, psychoanalyst. And can you imagine? That's how it started, and that's their
He's our father.
guideline.
Well, that's our culture through and through. We breed brats. We don't raise children.
Labyrinths. Goes for 1800s and so forth. You can see here's like a whole timeline of it. It's all here at the exhibit. You're welcome to come take a look at it. Here's that, guys. But if you can see this panel back here, it's really true. You're safe so long as we are here. Citizens Commission on Human Rights. What you can do about it comes next.
Nice.
And please help. There's always something that can be done about it.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. It's educate
Local,
people.
see Levon and see,
Information.
yeah, and see Pastor Stone and see Levon. They're very here local. They're very dedicated to you and to making sure that their community is well, safe pointed against the abuses of psychiatry.
Educated, yeah. Educated.
They have been asking us to come. It's about 2 years. And we got here. The museum is here. It's Thursday from 10 o'clock till 8 o'clock, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we leave at 5 o'clock. It's free. It's at Fort Ord. It's in the community center in this big, beautiful ballroom. We really want you to come. Bring all your friends. While it's here, come and take advantage of it. Please. That's it.